brightly shining into my face like they tell you to do when you videotape. Have you ever dealt with a right fighter? Now, I had the experience this past weekend of watching that show go on for a while, and I'll tell you all about it. But I did take a look and research to decide exactly what a right fighter is. So I'll read my notes just a little bit. What is a right fighter? Well, these people often exhibit behaviors such as being rigid and inflexible, superior and pompous, maybe even aggressive, fixated on being right, and they need for you to acknowledge that they are right. And I was watching a video of somebody I really, really like, and she mentioned that as we age, this becomes less and less the older we get, which is a good thing. However, I thought immediately, I know some very, very old people who are right fighters. They'll be that way till the day they die. And maybe it has more to do with perhaps mental illness or their own anxieties. But basically, for the fairly healthy, regular human folk, the older you get, the less likely you are to be probably the right fighter or even care to be. Now, this past weekend, we had some grandkids over, and then their parents came to pick them up on the Sunday. Now, I like these people. It's not that I don't like them, but they got into this little had to be right situation. They were both sitting there. The one mentioned that they had bought this freezer at a certain date and a certain time. The wife said they did not, that they got it at this other place, and neither would let it go. And it went on and on and on. And the stepdaughter said that she basically prided herself on this inflexibility with being right. She needed to prove that she's right and that you see that she is right. That is just a thing within her. And I got to watch it. And yeah, on and on. I mean, Owen and I were watching, and we had long past lost interest in the subject matter because whatever story they were telling that paused at this piece was irrelevant. It meant nothing, but it was just a little piece of data that needed to be made correct at all costs. And it went on and on and on, and eventually they called the husband's father in another province to get the truth on this matter. And so, yeah, in the end of the day, husband was right. Now, I can see why he wasn't letting it go. He is probably a good, 10, 12, 15 years older than her. And a lot of guys cannot let it pass that a woman makes a fact, they think something else, and there's just no way they'll let it go. And I've seen that play out quite a bit. And yeah, it's no fun to be around, and it's uninteresting to watch. I don't even know that they realize they're doing what they're doing, except for the fact that she said that she prided herself on chasing every little factoid down. And yeah. And I also thought it could also be a thing of autism. We watch our daughter, and she sometimes gets fixed on certain facts. You say something, you say the wrong date, or you say the wrong word, and she'll right away correct you or say that you meant this other thing. And I looked it up, and yeah, rigidity and seeking out the absolute facts is a characteristic of a lot of folks with autism. So I could look at my husband and go, I'm thinking that our daughter, our 10-year-old, is not the only one who has this issue and who might be autistic. Just never know. Now, I was taking a look at the fact that as we get older, that we decrease in having to be right all the time. Aging is associated with developmental changes. We become, for the most part, more agreeable, less neurotic, more focused on the emotional and relationship, and less interested in proving a point. Because eventually there comes a time where if you know that you're correct and somebody's going to argue with you, isn't it like, whatever? Suit yourself. Not going to argue. As we get older, we accept the inevitability of unpredictability in life. We accept it more or less. We have less of a need of controlling everything. I think the controlling of everything was more for me when I was younger. The older I get, the less, well, I know that things are out of control or uncontrollable, and the only thing we can control is ourselves. As one of my commenters mentioned from my last video, I can only control my own self. I cannot control or care about other people's opinions and how they are or aren't in relationship with me and how that changes. And she's correct. I can only control myself on that. As we get older, we are more in control of our emotions. We are less apt to be anxious and depressed. And we are less defensive as to who wins an argument. We prefer harmony over conflict. We do know that we have less time in our future as we look forward and less time to waste on all these silly arguments over the minutiae of irrelevant factoids that really don't mean nothing about nothing. As we get older, we shed the insecurities of youth because, yeah, they're just starting out and they're just learning the difficulties in life, the challenges in life, and that they can get through it okay. We've already done it, and we realize we could, if we go through stuff again, we'll be perfectly fine in the end of the day. We just get more comfortable in our own skin. I think that's a part of the learning not to argue, learning not to be right all the time or having to be right all the time. As we get older, we start noticing the forest for the trees. We start seeing the bigger picture of things as opposed to the tiny little details that are meaningless. People get lost comparing tree to tree or problem to problem as opposed to just looking at the whole situation, the whole forest. Once in a while, there are some things where there is truth, and one of them came under the safeties. And I was watching Owen as he was building some stairs in the shop. And of course, I had to try them out. And I trotted on up and trotted on down and just about fell on my face towards the bottom. Kind of stumbled a lot, and it just made no sense to me. I'm not that much of a fragile flower, I didn't think. So then the second time I walked down there, it just, those last two steps just felt weird, just weren't right. And sure enough, Owen didn't argue. He didn't decide that I was wrong and he was right and all that kind of stubborn stuff. He actually measured it and discovered that the two lower steps had at least an inch and something difference in height. And so I gather from our carpenter son-in-law that the body can adjust to a certain amount in differences in heights on stairs, but after a certain amount is very much a tripping hazard. So my sweet husband, he went and fixed the problem right away. And yeah, the older we get, the less we are worried about arguing with each other over silliness. And the less I care about arguing with anybody. I mean, if you want to say certain things are the way you see them, then fine. But don't also be telling me that I'm wrong. And yeah, I see that a lot in as politics fold out, or even as religion in my family. That yeah, you can believe and follow and do whatever you want to do. We're not going to argue over it. And in my family, the great fun is arguing over Bible verses, arguing over dogma, and the Bible verses and the wars going back and forth. It was just all, and to me, it's just all petty and irrelevant, and not worth the anxiety or the stress. Especially as you get older, you become more accepting. I looked online to figure out, how do these people become the way they are with the right fighting and having to be right and argue in every point? And sometimes this comes from your childhood. Now, sometimes if you've grown up in a high control household, and you're always being told that you're wrong by your parents, one or both, well, sometimes eventually, as you become adult yourself, you suddenly have to feel you're right, or you have to prove your point. And sometimes you just don't know how to rein it in. I certainly watched this growing up when I was a kid. In my house, the arguments between mom and dad on a point. I'm thinking I'm almost the opposite. I learned to shut up. I learned that my voice wasn't acceptable, that I wasn't smart, that I should just keep my opinions to myself. I learned that through the parents and through husbands 1 and 2. Now, if you argued or said somebody wasn't right in those 3 relationships, it wasn't just that they would get mad, it would be that you would be physically abused if you argued at all. So then one learns to shut up. And so I'm working on maybe speaking out a bit, learning to speak up, not right fight, but just give my own opinion rather than folding and becoming the chameleon and falling in line with what everybody else wants. And that's been my challenge in life, the older I get, is, if I don't want to do something, I just won't do it. And if I think I'm right, I'm not going to argue, but I'm also not going to fold either. So it was just a topic that popped into my mind when I watched that video of that other lady that I really, really like. And I'm going to go wait for my daughter again. There we go. And that was my thoughts on that. I'm going to just stop here. This is Annette from Carpe, Omnia, after 60 in the sunshine on a beautiful, beautiful day. +4. It's going to plunge into the freezer again next week, but I'm going to enjoy this day while I can. Take care.